Mordoch, the last guardian of mankind. The world has forgotten these lands, but the lands themselves cannot forget the price they paid for their silence. This is a plain that stretches to the horizon, and it hides its secret. In the middle of this metal cemetery, his house stands, built from the solid trunks of century-old oaks, with walls a meter thick, a house that was conceived as a fortress, but became a last refuge. A narrow path leads to it, torn with stones, dirt, and sprouting grass, stretching from a small barn. On this barn, also darkened by the morning fog and damp air, lie rusty swords, sabers, and muskets already covered with moss. By the thick oak wall, he keeps the most valuable thing he has. It is not gold, not hidden treasures, and certainly not glory. It is a rainwater container made from part of a giant's knapsack, a crude fragment of bone or metal, darkened by centuries. It is silent evidence that those who once walked the world left monumental traces. But the main thing about it is water. Collected in an artifact, it is not just pure. It has a memory, water, like a liquid mirror of eras, remembers other times, other battles, another sun. And when Mordoch approaches, his stocky body is reflected in it, as if in frozen time. It is not just a source of life. It is his daily ritual of confession, where he can feel the burden of the past for a moment before becoming its guardian again. Here he is, Mordoch. His face was not covered with the wrinkles of age. It was covered with muscles baked by time, which made his skin look like a mountainside in autumn, harsh, unbreakable, and at the same time fragile with accumulated fatigue. His blonde, torn hair stuck to his broad forehead with sweat from the merciless felling of a tree. But it was the sweat not of mere labor, but of an eternal burden. His hands were gnarled, swollen with strength and scars, like the very trunks of oaks from which his hut had been built. They could break the strongest armor, but now they only held the weight of a bucket. There was no rush in his movements, only a heavy, measured efficiency, characteristic only of those who know that time for them is just another dimension, not a limitation. After the felling, he approaches the container. He scoops up water with huge hands that look like they could have watered a horse. His reflection appears in the remaining water in his backpack. Sweat mixes with the cold water, runs down his temples, and drips back into the artifact. I probably won't survive another winter, he whispers. Mordoch is not just a man. He was a living ambivalence, a son of magic and humanity, the embodiment of all the best of both worlds. But his fate turned out to be the most difficult and heaviest burden. His path began not with heroism, but with bloody doubt. First, he plunged into the war of the Varlasks, that civilization that owed its strength to the Farlathic tree, against the predatory, long-bodied Karuz. These 10-foot-tall, slender bodies brought chaos to the northern lands that defied logic. The Varlasks quickly lost their advantage. Mordoch saw their desperate, futile fall and survived, but he realized this war was not his. At the age of 19, he left the battlefield, realizing the futility of the conflict, which revolved only around resources and pride. Then he remembered his roots, his mother, the mountain queen Isindia, and her sacrifice which once stopped his father from destroying the Farlathic tree, the source of life, not weapons. Mordoch realized the world as it is does not suit him. It was too big to play by other people's rules. Having absorbed a mixture of magical power and human perseverance, he made a fatal decision. The world will not be changed by the Varlasks or the Karuz. He will change the world himself. Thus began his 290-year journey. It was not a journey, but a relentless, centuries-long cleansing of the world from what prevented it from breathing. He was the personification of necessary but cruel justice. The world, not understanding his mission, called him grimly and aptly the saint among assassins. His code was as simple as the blade of his axe. He did not kill those who fell to their knees before him in defeat, but others were destroyed by his giant axe, the butt of which was adorned on the other side with a huge thorn carved from the Farlathic tree. It was not just a tool, it was a symbol of his oath and his inextricable connection to the magic of his mother. He collected them one by one, as the only silent proof of his existence and that his struggle was real. Mordoch intended to build his house on them, and he did. The hut stands on the foundation of his past. Mordoch's house is a foundation of dead enemies, a constant reminder to him. His struggle never ends.